This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, Heather Ho, there's Jeff Cutter welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe Birthday Boy. And the first drink today, February the 24th, is a NFL journeyman quarterback, as they call it. He used to be good with the Niners, and then after leaving the Niners, he went and bounced around many teams. In fact, he played in the United Football League, and, he could have played for the Texans in 2011, but he didn't. He's 53 years old today, and let's not forget, he was a legend in the CFL. Yes, he played in the CFL. He was a decent player in the CFL until he went to the Niners. He is Jeff Garcia. Jeff Garcia was a legend at his JUCO, or junior college. He ended up transferring to San Jose State University and was the start-earning quarterback for 3 years. San Jose State did okay for the first few years, and then his senior season, they went 2-9, which is pathetic. He still has the most career offensive yards in San Jose State history, and that's saying a lot. Anyway, he's one of only 12 quarterbacks in NFL history to have 2 straight 30-plus touchdown passing seasons, at least once in his career. And he's thrown a 99-yard touchdown pass. Regardless, at 6'1", 195, Garcia was considered too small and not really selected in the 94 draft. Who can blame him? I mean, San Jose State sucked. So anyway, Garcia, like most quarterbacks in college, actually decided to go up north and play in the CFL. Calgary gave him an opportunity. He would end up being the 3rd string in his first year in 94 behind Doug Flutie and Steve Taylor. So anyway, Garcia would end up being the starter in the 95 season once Flutie went down to injury. And he put up 6 touchdown passes in a giant Labor Day game against Edmonton, which is the second of 2 major rivalries on Labor Day in Canada. You got Toronto Hamilton and you got Calgary Edmonton. There was a lot of quarterback controversy and all that, especially when Calgary went to the Grey Cup that year and Flutie was the starter when Calgary lost to Baltimore, and of course people were upset. Garcia ended up being Calgary's starting quarterback when Flutie decided to leave Calgary for Toronto in 96. And he did quite well. All that. Unfortunately for Garcia, he couldn't lead the team to the Grey Cup the first 2 years he was starter. But in 98, they beat Hamilton on a last-second field goal by Mark McLaughlin. He was named Grey Cup MVP and looked pretty good and all that. Following the Grey Cup victory, the Niners saw some promise and said, hey, why don't we give Garcia a chance? So he was signed to back up Steve Young with the Niners. And then after Steve Young got concussed by Ernest Williams of the Cardinals, Garcia stepped in and all that. He didn't really do that well. He ended up having to share his idea with Steve Stenstrom. So Garcia finished his career with rookie season with 11 touchdowns, 11 receptions. With Steve Young retired, the Niners needed a quarterback. Garcia was named a starter, but would have 2 guys coming very close to him. Giovanni Carmazzi and Tim Rattay were both drafted in that 2000 NFL draft that saw them kind of beat Tom Brady to the punch in being drafted. Garcia made the Pro Bowl despite the fact that the Niners were 6-10, but he put up 4,200 passing yards. So yeah, it was hard to believe all that, but yeah. So Garcia put up 31 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, which was weird because, how could you have a good touchdown to interception ratio and yet your team sucked dilly yucks? But by 2001, Garcia was the main starting quarterback and all that. Of course, Garcia led the Niners to one of the biggest comeback wins in playoff history. In fact, the second biggest playoff comeback in history. I can't remember if the 24 points. Yeah, I think it was second. Yeah, that's what my notes are saying. So anyway, the Giants were up 38-14. It looked like the Giants were going to go into San Francisco and win the game. However, Garcia, for some strange reason, had them get some comebacks and score 25 straight points, 39-38. The Giants had a chance at the winning field goal, but a bad snap by Trey Junkin, and then they got interfered for. They got penalized for illegal man downfield when it was the wrong guy. So, well, the penalty's offset. The Niners would lose the second round. Anyway, Garcia and Terrell Owens would basically be the fantastic 49er duo and all that. But Terrell Owens would always speak out against Garcia and all that. Terrell Owens was actually traded to Philly and then asked in a Playboy interview if he thought Jeff Garcia was gay, and he responded, "If it looks like a rat, it smells like a rat, by golly, it is a rat." Ugly. But anyway, yeah. Owens began speaking out and criticizing Garcia over the previous season and all that. And Garcia did say that the pressure of following in the Joe Montana and Steve Young's footsteps did get to him. I mean, after all, San Francisco fans in the 80s and 90s only know Garcia, well, Montana Young. So, anyway, Owens did quite well. The 2003 season, the Niners were just terrible and all that. Steve Mariucci was canned and replaced by Dennis Erickson. The Niners didn't do so well and was released, and Garcia was released. Cleveland signed him to a contract, and he had some bad consistency and all that. He did throw a 99-yard touchdown pass to Andre Davis, October 2004. Yet, on September 19, 2004, he was 8 for 27, 71 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions. His passer rating was 0.0. 0.0, to quote Adam House. And to also quote Jaguar Gator 9 on YouTube. That passer rating was worse than taking the ball and spiking it on every down. So anyway, Detroit decided to sign him to a 1-year deal. And Steve Mariucci was the head coach. However, Garcia broke his fibula in a preseason game against Buffalo and would not come back till October. Garcia was named the starting quarterback for the remainder of the season because of his win over the Cleveland Browns. But Joey Harrington took it back. Garcia was not given a contract, so he went to Philadelphia as the backup to Donovan McNabb. Garcia had to change his number 5 because of McNabb's to wear number 7. So, anyway, McNabb actually got hurt against the Titans in November of 2006. Garcia entered the game. And, Garcia looked decent and all that. Losing to the Colts on Sunday Night Football in Garcia's first start was basically the death blow for the Eagles. However, somehow in some way, he led them to 5 straight wins and not only got to the playoffs, they won the division. It was like, holy crow. He was even on the front cover of SI. Garcia would help the Eagles beat the Giants 23-20, but lost to the Saints 27-24 in that famous NFC divisional game in New Orleans. All that. He did do quite well, 240 yards passing. The Eagles did not offer Garcia a new contract. They wanted to sign A.J. Feely to a 3-year deal and avoid quarterback controversy. Dumb. Tampa Bay signed him. And Garcia decided to keep wearing number 7, despite the fact 5 was available. He was named the starting quarterback and all that. Tampa won the NFC South with Garcia and somehow choked against the Giants in the wildcard game on home turf. Of course, that would lead the Giants to their Super Bowl run in which they took out the Pats in Super Bowl 42. So thanks a lot, Garcia. Ironically enough, that was the last time Tampa made the playoffs till the 2020 season in which they won the Super Bowl. Thanks a lot, Tom Brady. Regardless, Garcia left the game due to injury in the season opener in 2008, and Tampa used a quarterback by committee rotation between Jeff Garcia, Brian Greasy, and Luke McCown. So anyway, Tampa's quarterback problems were huge. They were 9-3 at one point, and it looked like they were going to make the playoffs, but they lost the next 4. Tampa refused to have Garcia and all that. Tampa was the first team since San Francisco that Garcia spent more than a year with. Then he went to Oakland for a 1-year deal. Anyway, Garcia was we're number 7 and was supposed to be the backup to Jamarcus Russell for the 2009 season, but somehow was released during final cuts, which was stupid. I mean, you're going to keep Jamarcus Russell in your squad? So anyway, after Donovan McNabb fractured his rib, the Eagles needed something, and they got Garcia. They decided to sign him to a deal. But he was released after Michael Vick was allowed to return from his suspension from dogfighting and all that. So he spent 2 weeks, and he didn't play for the team. So he went to the United Football League, which had 1 season, and then he almost went to Houston. He was actually signed with Houston in December 2011. And he was back up to TJ Yates. So anyway, in the CFL, he played 78 games, had 16,442 yards passing, 111 touchdowns, 52 interceptions. That's pretty good. NFL-wise, with San Fran, Cleveland, Detroit, Philly, Tampa, and then back with Philly, he had 125 games played, 25,537 passing yards, 161 touchdowns, 81 interceptions, and then the UFL for Omaha. He was actually an offensive consultant / quarterbacks coach for the Alouettes in 2014. And then the Rams decided to hire him as an offensive assistant. So anyway, he was named as a nominee for the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2019. He's not in the Hall of Fame, I believe. Nope. I don't think he will get in the Hall of Fame. It's not that good. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway, his maternal grandfather actually was a football star at Kansas State University in the 1930s. Garcia married an American model by the name of Carmela de Cesar, who was Playmate of the Year in 2004. Well, 2007, the marriage happened. They had 4 children. Unfortunately, they're divorced, but they do co-parent their kids, so at least there's some happy ending to it. I mean, it's not all doom and gloom sometimes when a divorce happens. But, that's what it is. Jeff Garcia will always be a CFL legend to me. And a Niners legend, but otherwise, he's shit. Anyway, I'm John Diamond. I do.